And welcome back to Brain Power Unlocked. I'm Dr. Kevin Mays. Today, episode 5, rewiring the brain with science. The reality is you don't rewire the brain with science, you rewire the brain with discipline and intention. But we're going to uncover the science behind how you rewire your brain in a way that allows you to reconstruct your thinking patterns in a way that aligns with the person that you are becoming as a leader. As we said before, what got you here will not get you there. So, in rewiring the brain, which is the beautiful thing that we have the ability to rewire our brain. And in doing so, we absolutely have the potential to recreate how we see the world, our self concept. And because with our thoughts, we create the world, you have an ability to recreate your world at any stage in the game. Now, the neat thing about this whole notion of rewiring our brain starts from the idea of neuroplasticity. And what that means is that our brains are continually evolving and changing all the time. Now, what happens is that over time, as you establish these patterns in your thinking over and over and over, it becomes so ingrained that you do not even see it or know that the pattern's there. There's so much consistency established in your neural networks that it becomes so normalized, it's invisible to you. It's like that notion of unconscious competence. And now you have unconscious competence that drives how you show up in the world in ways that sometimes, man, it's the secret to your success. And other times, it's absolutely your Achilles heel. When you're driving to work and somebody shortcuts in front of you and you find yourself getting emotionally triggered and reactive and the caveman takes over, this is the time for the emotional rewire, the neuro rewire to allow you to be the best version of yourself, even when everything's going dead wrong. Now, neuroplasticity, what's it mean? At a core level, remember when you came into the world, you had the hardware, but you didn't have the software. And you started forming that software based on your experiences. And those experiences then got ingrained into the neural fabric of your brain, such that over the years, those patterns, those connections get stronger and stronger and stronger until you have this web of connections in your brain that drive your circuitry, right? They really are your neural circuitry. And it from that space, you support and sustain a self-concept and a worldview. Now, what happens with most folks and the way our brain is wired, then over time, is that you will look for and find information that supports what you believe to be correct. And you will be blind to vast amounts of data and realities that will just absolutely be out of your awareness because of that, because of your neural programming. But our minds are plastic. That is, we have the ability to change and evolve. I don't even like the word plastic because it makes me think of trash in the ocean. The thing is, our brains are organic. They're continually growing, right? Every year, no matter how old a tree is, new branches will form, even if the tree is 80 years old. And it's very similar to that, right? We have this root that we establish early on in our lives. And over the years, we get more and more of these branches. That is our patterns of thinking. But we have, through our free will, the ability to change the neurocircuitry. When you change your thinking and change it over time, you actually begin to reprogram your brain. And this is the brilliant thing. Without awareness, you're on the slippery slope. And I can say with 100% certainty that you will keep thinking the same way you always did, even when it doesn't get you the result that you want. However, when you change your pattern of thinking, when you consciously begin to change your thinking, your patterns of thinking, when you wake up, when you become present and start to just notice and become more deeply aware of what your thinking patterns are, when you notice your biases and you wake up to that blind pattern that drives you, that robot pattern When you start to bring that into awareness, you put yourself in a position of change. And this is where the real work begins, right? Remember, it's first having presence and then having awareness of what those patterns are. Now, this is where the real work begins when you then look at intention, because intention is key. It's about replicating new patterns of thinking over time, because when you do think a new way over time, eventually the old patterns that are ingrained in your brain's neurocircuitry begin to lose their grip and new patterns, new pathways begin to become established. And in doing so, you create new habit patterns in your mind. And that is powerful because it's never too late to teach an old dog a new trick. Yes, we can learn new tricks even further into our lives. Now, a lot of people, unfortunately, become so ingrained in their patterns and so rigid. And you see the old cantankerous SOB who's just unhappy and everything in the world is triggering them. And what this is really a product of is deeply ingrained neurocircuitry that we are attached to. So our mind has the ability to change our brain. And the work begins by being aware and then becoming detached, letting go of being right. You can be right and be miserable. I've known too many people. I've been there myself when I'm right and I'm miserable and I'm not getting the result that I want in my life. It's about letting go. I love it. Christians talk about being born again. In Zen Buddhism, they talk about beginner's mind. It's about letting go of what we know. It's about emptying the cup. And in that moment, you're in a spot where you're receptive to something larger. You're receptive to a deeper level of potentiality. Your brain is then open to be rewired. However, if you're not completely vigilant, the old patterns will sweep in and take you over. Your ego identity will try to defend itself. It takes a lot of work, but with discipline and consistent practice through ritual, you can actually rewire your brain's neurocircuitry. And it comes from practicing mental calisthenics. So again, neuroplasticity in simple terms is simply your brain's ability to change over time. It's not that when you're 15 or 13 or 20 years old, your brain's developing. No, you can change your brain when you're 80. Socrates learned a foreign language when he was 80 and he began teaching it at 85. You're never too late, never too old to change. It's never too late to learn something new. However, this is what we talked about earlier. It's the detriment of expertise. When you believe that, when you know that, when you're getting paid to know, and you spent your whole life educating to know, then there's a huge blind spot. And at some point, it's about letting go of what you know and stepping into being curious. That's the true power of the executive mindset. Now, repetition, right? So this is the great thing. It's all about ritual and it's about discipline. That's how you're going to actually rewire your brain. What's happened, though, to this point is you've established an environment around you and a world around you that validates the way you've tended to show up. It validates who you are, and that's your comfort zone. But if you want to grow, and if you want to become exceptional, and if you want to leave a legacy on this planet that's positive, and if you want to leave others better off, you have to overcome the ego that you developed when you were 3 years old. So you recognize when you were developing the ego, you needed it for your survival. And now, once you have the ego, the whole work is about learning to let it go, slaying the ego. This is a spiritual path to let go of the ego. We're not talking about throwing out the baby with the bathwater. No, you will never lose who you are, but if you don't do it with intention, it will own you and you won't own it. And this is about changing that equation at a fundamental level so that you own the patterns of your thinking. And when you own the patterns of your thinking and you build a discipline and a ritual that help you begin establishing new conscious patterns of thought, and you do that over time, you actually change how your brain is functioning until it becomes a new normal. This is why it's so important to have your goals written down. I can tell you my own experience from year after year when I love to flip chart my goals out, right? not my goals, but my vision. And I've done it at many periods in my life where I take a white flip chart, colored markers, and I just start drawing and writing and capturing everything in me. And then I bring it down more and more concise. So I go from color, which is more of a whole brained exercise, right? Now, and then over time, move it into just letters in logic, black and white, which becomes more of the black and white left brain exercise that helps my left brain, which is methodical and regimented, helps me create goals that I can follow through. And when I follow through on those goals, simple things like no different than exercising every day, but now we're going to do mental calisthenics every day. You're going to practice rehearsing what your vision is. I am becoming a world-class executive who is being recognized in my organization. I am the best version of myself as a husband who is leaving my wife better off every day. I am increasing the wealth for my family so we have the opportunity to travel worldwide and my kids can get a great education, right? These kinds of things. If you don't put new stimuli into your thinking pattern, the old patterns will continue to drive you. And you might say, what patterns? There's no patterns there. Now, remember, those patterns are no different than your ability to read language. That's how ingrained they are. You don't even know you're doing it. It's intuitive and reflexive. You read things that are written without even knowing it. And I'm sure you've seen the exercises where they take every third letter out of a word and you can still identify and read, even though most of the letters are missing. That's how ingrained our way of knowing is in the world. And that's how singular it is in dictating what we see. Remember what we talked about before, that reticular activating system. We are actually taking in 1 million, 2 million points of data every second, but we're only aware of a very limited amount. In this work, this discipline, this ritual we're talking about of rewiring your neurocircuitry is about starting to open up other ways of knowing and seeing that at some point you wouldn't even believe it. It's almost like historical. Imagine we could go back 50 years and show people a cell phone. They would think it was magic. They would have no idea. The same is true of how our brain works. There are ways of knowing and levels of awareness that we wouldn't even believe right now because of our own ignorance. But as you develop it within yourself and you get to know yourself at a deeper level, when your aware mind penetrates into your unawareness, you'll start to discover ways of knowing yourself that allow you to cut through some of those patterns that get in your way and open the door to complete deep potential and free choice. This is why ritual and discipline are key. What are you telling yourself on a daily basis? What are you telling yourself when things don't go your way and you're frustrated, when you're irritated, when you're pissed off? Who is the worst enemy in your own mind? If you're like most high achieving leaders, it's you. You beat yourself up. You're self-critical. You're guilty. You feel like you regret, like you should have done things differently. And all of that narrative is just an old pattern playing itself out and undermining your success. Step 1, presence. Step 2, awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of these patterns of thinking. And then secondarily, the emotion that gets spawned through those patterns of thinking. Step 3 then is to jump over to intention. What's that mean to be intentional? It means to cut those patterns and replace them with true choice, true patterns of thinking that drive a behavior that get the result that you want. Your beliefs drive your behaviors to get results. If you want results, it's time for an upgrade. Folks, this is all about you learning to upgrade your leadership. If you want the book, go to upgradeyourleadership.com, because at upgradeyourleadership.com, you will see all of the resources that I have learned from the best and brightest minds out there, as well as my own experience studying, researching through meditation, leadership development, through facilitating groups and perform keynote addresses. The stuff I have learned over the last couple of decades has been my own playbook to lead myself first, and it will help you upgrade your leadership.com. Go to upgradeyourleadership.com and you will find the tools to help you take all of what I'm saying and integrate it in a way that help you become a better version of yourself, the version of yourself that you know is in there, the version of yourself that you've waited your life to become. The time is now. Time is going by. There's no excuses. There's no time to wait. Today is the day that you take a firm step on your path to conscious leadership. You take a firm step to become a better version of yourself as a leader, as an executive, as a father, a mother, a husband, a wife. Today is the day that you start to unleash the potential. When you lead yourself first, you become the version of yourself that the earth needs. My God, we need you to be the best version of yourself. And it starts today when you lead yourself first. If you're looking for a powerful and transforming keynote address, I would love to come in and help your attendees learn to lead themselves first so that they can become a force to be reckoned with, a positive force of change, a positive force of leadership and executive development to help these individuals reignite the excitement that they first saw when they came into the field. So I would love to come to your organization, to your association, to your conference, and help ignite the passion to lead in your association members. This keynote, the 4 steps to conscious leadership, will radically transform the perspective your association members have. In 1 hour, it will ignite within them the passion to lead more effectively and to bring their best self and their enthusiasm to the rest of your conference. So check in with us and we'll help you have a conference that your association members will never forget. It's a game changer. I look forward to working with you. Now, the thing is, if you're going to stay the course to really upgrade your leadership, you must make it a daily practice. A practice that you break down. So the way it starts is to have clarity of the vision of who you're becoming, right? Remember, there's 4 steps on the conscious leadership pathway. It starts with presence, moves to awareness of yourself. From that position, then you're in a position of choice. And with choice, you can move with intention. You can decide intentionally towards your vision. Now, what's absolutely essential then is your vision becomes written down. And I'm not talking about just your business vision, the vision of who you are becoming to achieve that business vision, the vision of the husband that you're becoming, the wife that you're becoming, the employee, the employer, the business owner. Who is the business owner that you are becoming? And to break that down, who is the person that you are becoming? And to rehearse that on a daily basis, to have it written down and stuck on your computer. So you're continually putting this into your brain. With your thoughts, you create your world. And if you're not paying attention to the thinking processes that you're putting in your brain, if you're letting NPR or Fox News or Newsmax dictate what goes into your mind, you are absolutely missing out. You're missing out on a huge opportunity to live your life with purpose. Because we become, unbeknownst to ourselves, we become influenced in ways that we don't even see or know. By these unconsciously, we become influenced. Your job is to protect what you allow in. Don't allow anything in unless you're curating it, unless you've created it, unless it aligns with your vision of the person you're becoming. And let me tell you this, the best version of yourself, the person you're becoming, is not somebody who's angry, who's frustrated, who's driven by guilt, irritation, shame. No, the best version of yourself, when deeply aligned, is a person who is a human of wisdom. When you connect with your vision of who you're becoming, you align yourself with a deeper wisdom within yourself. And then when you begin to behave in a way that aligns with that, it magnifies its impact. It becomes exponential, right? Opens up and tunes you into a deeper source. But that source of wisdom is only available when you align with the best version of who you are. Not somebody who blames others, not somebody who becomes small in the face of conflict, not somebody who becomes defensive, who makes excuses, who blames, who justifies, who rationalizes. No, somebody who stays in the power zone, who takes complete ownership, accountability, and responsibility for yourself, who is kind, who is empathetic, and who is driven by a purpose. And that purpose must be aligned with your a deeper presence. This is the beautiful thing about leading yourself first, about upgrading your leadership. When you let go of the old neurocircuitry and embrace the notion of neuroplasticity, you're in a position to create the upgrade of your programming, right? The programming that got you here. When you upgrade that programming, the way you see the world will shift, and your relationships will shift. This is the beautiful thing we talked about before. While you can't change other people, recognize that when you engage with other people, you create a dynamic, and that dynamic is its own alloy. But when you change what you contribute, the whole thing shifts. I guarantee, practice this. Practice engaging people in a way with the mindset and the heart set to leave them better off. Practice listening. Practice being aligned with your vision and becoming the best version of yourself. And I guarantee you, you will watch people around you begin to change. People around you will begin to level up. They'll become better. That's the power of conscious leadership. That's the power that you unleash when you lead yourself first and upgrade your leadership. So when you unlock your brain power, you use your mind as a conscious tool to rewire that neurocircuitry that is just in place, that robot brain, right? That's just perpetuating moment by moment. You have the ability to change that. You have the ability to interrupt the pattern and replace it with true brilliance. Are you going to keep being a good leader, or are you going to step into being a brilliant executive? The choice is yours. Choose brilliance. And don't forget to go to upgradeyourleadership.com. Check out the new book we've got coming out. I'm very excited about it. I designed it specifically to help you become the best leader possible. You get one shot at life. This is it. Imagine if you could upgrade your leadership. The beautiful thing is you can. This is the playbook I've used to upgrade my leadership, and it will help you upgrade yours. Here's to your great success on your conscious leadership pathway.